Hey guys, what's up? Thanks so much for stopping by, or if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you decided to click on my face. In today's video, I went through my drawers and pulled out the palettes that I'm just really feeling for fall this season. This is my favorite time of the year. I realize the first official date of fall, I don't think it's until later this week, but I've already pulled out pumpkins, leaves, fall decor, lit up my leaves candles, put in fall scented or themed, no sentence right, wallflowers. My house just smells like a crisp fall morning and I'm all for it. So I did pull out, I think there's under 10 palettes, and most of them are palettes that have been out for a while. So if anything, hopefully this inspires you to pull out some of your love or perhaps forgotten palettes in your collection. Obviously you don't need to go out and buy anything new. I actually only have 2 new palettes in here, and I just kind of wanted to quickly spotlight them because I've been reaching for them. And unfortunately the one palette that I have on my eyes today is actually discontinued. I should have double checked before I applied my makeup, but I knew it was limited edition, but so many brands will say limited edition and then they magically reappear on their site. Maybe, fingers crossed, that happens, but it's the Too Faced Gingerbread Extra Spicy palette. Obviously, you have to be a fan of like warm tones. In my mind, this is like the epitome of fall. Just these warm, crispy, yummy oranges. I just love shades like this. On my eyes today, I have a little bit of butterscotch in a pinch, extra spicy cookie call, and then all over my lid is a mixture of both half baked, which is this really pretty like bronzy gold, and then spicy mommy, which is more of like a rusty copper. I love these tones so much. I'm not crazy about the scent. It isn't as bad as like the Sweet Peach palette and those, but I really just wish that eyeshadows didn't have a scent. I personally can't smell them whenever I'm applying them, but whenever you open it, you get that smell, and I'm just not a fan of like cake batter, that sort of sweet vanilla scent. I don't mind like a true like amber vanilla type of smell, but when it comes to bakery scents, even in candles, I do not like them. However, the color scheme of this palette I love. If you don't have it, I'm sure you can find other great warm tone palettes in your collection, but I had to mention this because A, it's on my eyes, and B, I love it for this time of the year. Also, this is an eyeshadow, but one of my all-time favorite fall lip colors is from Maybelline. It's one of their super matte or super stay matte inks in the shade Globetrotter. That is what I have on my lips today. I pretty much decluttered every single other like matte liquid lipstick in my collection except for the Maybelline ones. These stay on your lips all day long without feeling like dry, tight, and crusty. They're a pain to remove, but I don't mind because they last all day. You have to go in with some sort of like oil-based remover to get them off, but this color is just stunning for this time of the year. Okay, another palette that I absolutely adore, and this is one that I definitely think just suits fall and winter. This is the Nabla Dreamy 2 Mystic palette. I have several other palettes, but this is hands down my favorite. If you are interested in learning more about Nabla Cosmetics, I did a video, I think sometime last year, just testing a ton of their products, a full face, where I did feature this palette. I'll go ahead and link it in the eye and down below. This is just such a beautiful color scheme. It has some beautiful like rustic bronze shades. Libertine is more of like this kind of pressed glitter, but it's not quite as messy as other pressed glitters that I've tried. But the formula in here is just so amazing. These kind of like foiled shades, they have a very interesting texture, but whenever you apply them with your finger, you just get this amazing like wet foiled sort of look. It is just, I mean, dreamy is the perfect way to describe this palette. You kind of have these really cool like celestial purple blue tone shades, but then the mattes in here, well, I don't know if you can really describe them as mattes. It's almost like a satin matte. It really kind of depends how you apply it. For instance, if you go in with your finger with these 2 shades here, you definitely can see more of the sheen, but if you go in with a just like fluffy crease brush, it does apply more matte. It's just a very unique palette when it comes to color scheme and formula. If you have yet to try out Nabla, this would be the palette that I recommend the most, just because I feel like it would be different from many other palettes in your collection, and it has a nice variety of the different formulas that they, wow, I just had a brain fart, that they offer. There we go. However, if you are looking to stay more on the like neutral safe side, the Nabla Side by Side palette is honestly, oh, did anything break? No. Is the perfect everyday palette. As you can see, you just have great natural neutral tones in here. You do still have a good variety of their formulas, but for the most part, there are lots of mattes in here. But for me, I would go with the Dreamy 2. I just wanted to give this one as an option. If after seeing that, you're like, oh, I've never really heard of Nabla, I want to play with it more. This is great for just like the everyday safe zone makeup wear. Next up, we have this new palette from NARS. This is their new NARS Climax eyeshadow palette. I have so many palettes, both like eyeshadow palettes and blush palettes from NARS, and I have to say, This is one of the best ones they've released in a while. These shadows here kind of remind me a lot of the pressed foiled shades from like Makeup Geek or Huda Beauty. Oh my gosh, the green in the center is absolutely stunning. They just did such a great job with this palette. Definitely screams fall to me. I want to do like a quick IGTV or IG stories tutorial using this palette because I don't know, I feel like in the pans it doesn't look quite as exciting, especially when it comes to the mattes. They definitely look more muted, but on the eyes, they are just perfection. I have been loving this palette. In fact, for the last week, it's really the only one that I've been gravitating to. And one of my all-time favorite fall palettes, honestly, there's something wrong with this palette. Not in a bad way. It just boggles my mind every time. I've had the Juvia's Place Nubian 2 palette for so long now. I reach for the shade Morocco and Ya so often, and I have yet to hit pan. I don't get it. I mean, I do get it. It's because it's so pigmented. Honestly, I say this every time I ever mention this palette, but you barely dip your brush in it, and it's just like you can keep blending and blending and blending and blending and not have to re-dip your brush. I mean, I re-dip it obviously for the next eye, the other eye, like I have multiple eyes. Well, I do, I have two, but anyways, why Dana? Basically, the pigmentation of this palette is just pure insanity. It is just richly pigmented, so blendable. It definitely isn't like for a makeup beginner, I don't think, just because you'd really have to be in the habit of realizing like, okay, just a tiny, tiny bit goes a long way. The formula is just unreal. If you have yet to try Juvia's Place, please do. I do have, I think, the mini masquerade palette. While I like it, Nubian 2 is just the best. The shades in here just make brown eyes pop. Both the mattes and the metallic, it's just, I have zero complaints. It is a beautiful palette. And Ulta tends to put Juvia's Place on sale quite often, whether it's like 30% off or 20% off. So definitely keep your eyes peeled. I know she does lots of sales on her site as well, but the variety you can find for Juvia's Place, oh, it won't wipe off, at Ulta is pretty impressive. I've been dying to try the bronzers, but there's never samples out, and I hate that I can't even see like what the actual shades in the compact look like. Even if there wasn't like touchable samples, just to have a display out would be a little bit more helpful. Okay, and then just two more palettes. This is another palette that I've raved about for years, basically ever since it launched. It got to the point where I had to put it in a separate drawer to kind of like make myself forget about it, because these and then like ColourPop palettes were the only thing that I was reaching for so many months. This is the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I have a majority of her larger palettes, but this to me is fall in a palette. I love oranges, but oranges and purple together, especially on brown and hazel eyes, it's just beautiful. Even if you have like the darkest brown eyes, something about these shades just really make your eyes pop. It's another palette where I just love the different textures going on in here. Twilight is a favorite of mine. Okay, and then the very final palette, I wanted to include the ABH Soft Glam palette as well, but that's kind of another palette for me like the Too Faced Natural Nudes, where it's just kind of a no-brainer. It's a palette that works every single day. You can create so many great looks out of it. Soft Glam is the perfect name. You can keep it really soft, everyday, natural, or you can really smoke it up and just get a very nice glam look out of it. That one and then the Jackie Aina palette are hands down my favorite palettes from ABH. I just looked online and this one actually is on sale for maybe like $10 off, $9 off, something like that on the ABH website. I think the color scheme of this palette is just so beautiful and unique. To be honest, the only shadows that I don't really reach for too often are Supreme and Big Wig. While they are pretty, I don't know, it's not really my favorite, but all these other shades, specifically Edges, Wigglies, and Zam, those are three shades that I use so often. This shade just all over the lid is absolutely stunning. It's just this very nice, like, molten metallic coppery rose gold wet shadow. Wigglies, if you want a very intense like ruby sort of shade, that's beautiful. It's just honestly such a cool palette, and I've noticed it's really not until like fall and winter, basically like the holiday season, whenever I'm really wanting to go in and create more like colorful looks. I noticed this summer and spring, I really just kind of played it safe and went in with something very neutral on the crease, sometimes just like my bronzer, and then one of my little like potted singles. I was using a lot of those Miko Japanese pressed squishy shadows for a while. So during the summer, it's just very light, bronzy, neutral. But once it gets cooler out and you're wearing like rich jewel tones whenever it comes to like clothing and makeup, that's whenever this palette comes out. Honestly, ever since this palette, I don't really think there's been another launch from ABH that's really lured me in. I wasn't really crazy about any of the Norvina palettes, but this one, I would definitely recommend picking it up. I don't know if they're discontinuing it since it's on sale or what the deal is, but it's a doozy. There are my top palettes for fall that are really inspiring me. I'm so excited just to bust out all the like deep dramatic eye makeup looks again. I think most of these I already do have a tutorial on, but if there's anything that you're really wanting to see, just leave it down below. Definitely go check out the Nabla video if you're interested. They have so many great products, but I'm telling you, Dreamy 2 is such a good and dreamy palette. I would love to hear about some of the palettes that are inspiring you for this upcoming fall season. We're supposed to have a cool front coming in on Wednesday. I'm so excited because we're still in the high 80s to like high 90s over here. Gross, over it. As always, thank you so much for hanging out. If you haven't already, I would love if you subscribed. If you have some more time on your hands, you can always check out one of these videos here. And that's about it. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.